Welcome to the Female Church Leaders Podcast, a weekly resource for women who love God, love the church, and are called to lead. I'm your host, Kadi Cole, church leader, author, and executive coach. After more than 30 years in full-time ministry, often as the only woman at the table, I understand how meaningful yet challenging your calling can be. That's why I created this podcast, to remind you that you're not leading alone. Each week, I'll share practical tools, biblical insights, and honest encouragement for the real challenges female leaders face in ministry, so you can grow your skills, strengthen your faith, and lead with more confidence and joy without burning out or striving to prove yourself. We drop a new episode every Monday because Sunday is coming and you are going to be ready for it. One of the most important and most misunderstood leadership functions in the church is leading volunteers. Many of us were taught subtly or directly that leading volunteers, especially frontline volunteers, is somehow lesser leadership, lower stakes, less responsibility, easier. But the truth is, it's actually the opposite. Leading volunteers is one of the highest forms of leadership there is, especially in ministry. Think about it. Volunteers don't show up because they're paid. Their paycheck and livelihood isn't connected to this at all. They stay because something meaningful is happening, which means when volunteers drift, disengage, or quietly disappear, it's rarely about laziness or lack of faith. It's almost always about leadership. And that's actually good news because leadership is something we can grow. At its best, volunteering isn't just how the church gets things done. It's actually how people are developed. It's where faith becomes embodied, gifts are discovered, confidence grows, community is built, and leadership is practiced in real life. We don't use people to build ministry. We use ministry to develop people. And that means volunteer leadership isn't secondary. It's actually sacred. But because churches often measure leadership success, especially for staff members, by attendance, budgets, and timelines, it's easy to unintentionally drift away from that people development mindset, especially when things feel busy or urgent. Research across churches and nonprofits shows a consistent pattern. Volunteers disengage when a few key leadership conditions weaken over time. Number one, unclear expectations. They aren't sure what success looks like or what's actually required. Number two, lack of ownership or meaning. Their role feels disconnected from the mission or easily replaceable. Number three, low relational connection. No emotional connection. Just the simple experience of being known and noticed is what makes the difference. And number four, little feedback or follow-up. No one checks in. No one asks how it's going. No one notices when energy starts to fade. Now, these factors aren't the only things. But these four things do act like rubber bands. They stretch when life gets busy, but they pull people back toward commitment when leadership is healthy with these four baseline practices. When those conditions erode, volunteers don't usually quit dramatically. They drift quietly. And drift is a leadership signal. Not that you need a dramatic solution, but a signal that it's time to reassess how you are doing on the basics. Now, one of the reasons volunteer leadership is challenging, often for women, is that this kind of leadership requires assertiveness, not aggression, not people-pleasing, and definitely not avoidance. Assertiveness, godly, healthy assertiveness, is caring enough about who someone is becoming to be clear about what they need to do. This means articulating expectations, addressing missed commitments as discipleship opportunities, correcting unhealthy patterns early, and having conversations that honestly we'd rather avoid. And yes, paid staff will often comply because they have to, but volunteers stay because your leadership is meaningful to their lives and their growing faith, which means assertiveness isn't optional, it's spiritual. So here are a few practical foundations you can implement right away to make sure your volunteers experience the best of your leadership without making this more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, step number one, provide clear, simple role descriptions. Now, I know it can feel like overkill to write a written job description to a volunteer, but in practice, it does the opposite of what we fear. It doesn't make things feel rigid. It communicates that the role matters and that their time and contribution are valued. When expectations are clear, volunteers can succeed with confidence. I recommend listing no more than 3 or 4 clear goals for each role. Now, simple is not lazy. Simple is thoughtful. And honestly, it actually takes more time to clarify things simply, but it is worth the effort. So let's take, for example, that you oversee the weekend experience team and you want to write a role for your greeters. Now, if you just keep the 3 simple goal objective, number 1, as a greeter, we want you to arrive on time at your assigned location, the right door, the right post, wherever it happens to be. Number 2, wear a visible smile. Smiling on the inside is not enough. Wear a visible smile and appropriate clothing. Yes, I've had to redirect more than one overly enthusiastic greeter outfit. I'm sure you have too. So wear a visible smile and appropriate clothing. And goal number 3, engage people you don't already know. I had to learn to put this on because let's be honest, greeters are wonderful relational people, but they love talking to the friends they've known for years instead of that first-time guest who just wandered in. So 3 simple expectations that are clear and achievable. That's exactly what volunteers need from us. Not fancy, just clear. All right, step number 2, know your people, not just your roles. Now, depending on the size of your team and how often you naturally interact while people are serving, it can be really helpful to gather a little information up front. I recommend a short volunteer sheet or information form that someone fills out when they start on your team, not to manage them, but to lead them well. This is a natural time when someone joins your team to ask things like their birthday or milestones you might want to celebrate. One year, I always put the first day they started at the church, and every year I would send them like a church birthday card almost. Like, we're so glad you've been here a year. It's been wonderful to have you on the team. Things like that. You can ask them what they hope to gain from serving. This gives you a window into where their real needs are. Sometimes it's missional. Sometimes it's an experiment to discover their gifts, but sometimes they're looking for friendship. Sometimes they're looking for a way to belong. Sometimes they're looking to grow in their faith. You know what the role is, and you can help tailor around them the things that are actually motivating them to serve, to make sure they're being served by you as their leader in a holistic way. A third thing to ask for is something like their favorite coffee drink or snack or soda or sweet treat. I love to gather this up ahead of time because on their birthday or their anniversary of joining the team, or when they do something extra special, it's fun to give them their favorite candy bar or bring them their favorite latte to service, or maybe at a volunteer gathering. People feel seen, they feel known, they feel appreciated in these really personal ways. And the best time to get this is when someone joins your team. Now, if you haven't done this, just go ahead and send the form out to everyone, tell them you're recalibrating, get everybody's information. But whatever it is, as you look into the future of how you want to build your team and bring a connection and relationship and structure to it, think of the things that you would want to celebrate and act on later and add that to your welcome sheet or your information sheet. Number 3, annual check-ins and clear commitments. Most volunteers respond really well to defined seasons, a beginning and an end. But in churches, because ministry is weekly and ongoing, it's easy to just hope people will stay indefinitely. The problem is, when commitments are vague, people don't know how to be faithful to them. So a simple annual check-in conversation that asks, are you in for another year? It creates clarity and trust for them and for you as the leader. Most volunteers genuinely want to fulfill what they've committed to. They just need to know what that commitment actually is. Now, some ministries have natural rhythms like small groups. They usually start in the fall and end in the late spring. There's kind of a clear beginning and end. But for ongoing week-to-week teams, you can stagger start dates throughout the year. That way, you're always recruiting, you avoid mass turnover, and people don't disappear without at least a conversation. You can even use someone's start date as the beginning of their 1-year commitment if you want. You'll just want to keep a simple way to track it so it supports you instead of surprising you later. And step number 4, use upcoming seasons like Easter wisely. High attendance seasons like Easter and Christmas aren't just about coverage. They're incredible recruitment and leadership opportunities. Short-term serving commitments, shadowing, and quote, try it out roles allow both you and the volunteer to discern fit without long-term pressure. So for your volunteer, they get a real experience in your ministry, not just a written description or someone trying to recruit them. They can explore their gifting, their calling, and chemistry with other people. And they can build some early relationships really quickly. Plus, those big services can be a lot of fun with a lot of people in one place. Now, for you, you get to see how they show up, how they work with other people, and where they thrive most and where they might struggle on your team. It becomes a mutual discernment opportunity instead of a high stakes yes or no. And here's the key. You gotta follow up after that ministry opportunity. That's where the real leadership happens. A simple conversation like, hey, based on your experience over Easter weekend, where do you feel most energized? Or I noticed you really seem to come alive in this. Or does this feel like a place you could use your gifts to really serve the Lord and build up our local body? Turn these busy seasons into a recruitment and development pathway, not just survival mode. In Exodus 18, Jethro watches Moses lead, and then he tells him a hard truth. He says, what you are doing is not good. I've had a few people tell me what I was doing was not good. He says, what you are doing is not good. You will surely wear yourself out and the people as well. But then he reframes what leadership actually is. It's not doing more. It's sharing responsibility wisely. Healthy leadership creates space for others to grow and protects leaders from burnout. And that principle is still alive today. So here's your one action step for this week. I want you to think of one volunteer on your team. Maybe it's somebody who's been steady and faithful for a long time. Maybe it's someone you haven't seen in a while, or perhaps someone you're quietly concerned about. Take a few minutes this week, maybe even right at the end of this podcast, and reach out to them. Have a simple conversation. Hey, how's it going? How's this role working for you? What's been life-giving in our ministry? What's been hard or uneasy? I want you to know that your contribution matters. And how can I pray for you and support you better? Sometimes the most faithful leadership is simply noticing and reaching out to the one who's drifting. Even if assertiveness feels new or awkward, or you have a courageous conversation in your future, most people genuinely appreciate being seen and checked on. I know I would. That's the heart of a shepherd leader. So to wrap up, a reminder that leading volunteers well isn't about squeezing more out of people. It's about creating clarity, meaning, and care so people can grow while the mission moves forward. Small practices done consistently shape strong teams, and strong teams create healthy churches. 1 Thessalonians 2:8, Paul writes, "We cared for you because we loved you so much. We were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well." That's healthy and engaged volunteer leadership, sharing purpose, sharing responsibility, and oftentimes sharing life. If this episode hit close to home, it may be because assertiveness is the leadership muscle God is inviting you to strengthen right now. Our assertiveness cheat sheet is a simple, practical way to start building that muscle, especially with volunteers you care deeply about. You are doing important work, especially as you invest and lead your volunteers well. And remember, we are always here to cheer you on. I'm so glad we got to spend this time together on the Female Church Leaders Podcast. I hope you're walking away encouraged, equipped, and reminded that your calling truly matters. To keep growing, join us for our next Closing the Leadership Gap cohort at closingtheleadershipgap.com. It's a guided coaching experience, including live Q&A with me, designed to accelerate your leadership journey. If this podcast has been helpful to you, would you please take a moment to follow, rate, and share it? Your engagement helps the algorithms suggest our resources to female church leaders we haven't had a chance to meet yet. And don't forget to follow at Female Church Leaders on Instagram for encouragement and leadership tools designed just for you. You can also follow my personal feed at Kadi Cole, spelled KadiCole. Keep leading faithfully, keep growing your leadership gifts, and I'll see you next Monday because Sunday is coming and you are going to be ready for it.